Welcome to Focus on the Falls. I'm John Mercure, joined by the Superintendent of the Menominee Falls School District, Jim Heiden. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, John.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks.
This is such an important discussion because communities talk about how they want involvement, and in a school district you want your parents and your citizens to be engaged. And there's a chance for that coming up here, and that's with school board elections. Before we get to the election part, maybe give us some background. Why is it important that people be engaged when it comes to the school district?
Well, I think first of all, there's many ways that you can give back to your school district and you can be involved in the life of your kids. One of the most significant ways, I think, is to be involved in the school board. School board members affect policy, and so they can really have lasting change in the district, and they can help either move the district forward or take it in a new direction, depending on what the issues are. People in the community, school board members bring the community perspective, which is really important for us to hear so that we're not just operating and doing what we believe is right, but we're actually doing what the will of the community wants. So for us, having people on the school board that are invested in their community, invested in the kids, is really important. Now, you don't have to have kids to be on the school board.
Right.
Anybody can run for the school board. It certainly is helpful if you've had kids at some point, because that's part of the perspective that you need to have when you're dealing with that. But you don't have to currently have kids. And I think that's often, people will say, well, I can't run for the board, or I don't want to run because I don't have kids in the system anymore.
Not a prerequisite.
Not at all. And quite frankly, we need perspective of the entire
community.
Excuse me, entire community.
What sort of time commitment is it? If you decide to be on the board, there's regular meetings, but there's also work that's done outside the board meeting time. Give us a kind of idea of the workload.
Well, I think it really varies given what's going on in the district. Generally speaking, right now the board is a little bit busier than normal because there's a superintendent search going on. So there's a few extra meetings that are put in.
You ought to just be that guy, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there. But okay, but they're searching for a permanent superintendent.
They are searching for a permanent superintendent, so there'll be a few more meetings for interviews and trying to work through all the process and do everything they need to do.
And budget time can be busier, right? Does it kind of, there ebbs and flows to the calendar?
There are. As we do it, there are 2 meetings a month. It's on the second and fourth Monday of the month. During the summer, they go down to 1 meeting, and in November, December, they're down to 1 meeting a month. But there are committee meetings that happen, and everybody who's on the board is involved in a committee or two. All board members are welcome to go to all committee meetings. If you really want to be invested, you can do that, but it's not required again. So average time, usually about 5 to 7 hours a week, is probably overkill. It sounds like a lot, but it's not always at one time. Board meetings are usually your longest block of time, but the other times it's answering an email or responding to a constituent or asking the administration for some information. So it really kind of depends on what the issue is and quite frankly how involved you want to get.
So not only are you involved and you have a voice, but you also have the opportunity to be at district events, you're involved in the decision making, you get to see the students and kind of really put your imprint maybe on the direction that a district goes, right?
Absolutely, and I think to me that's the best part about being involved with the school board is you get to see firsthand the very best that we have to offer. And I think that's really to be involved in a school board, I think it's pretty cool. In my earlier career, I actually served on a school board for 7 years. So for me, it was time that I thought was really well worth it for being able to give back to the community and to be able to be involved in the life of my kids.
So Jim, for folks who want more information to maybe consider this, there's an informational night. I think it's coming up on Tuesday evening. What is that night like? So
that night is scheduled to be about an hour-long meeting. It's an opportunity for us to walk through the various components about what's involved in being on a school board, some of the things that they have to take into consideration. One is that you become a public official. And with that, there are some rules and regulations we need to follow. For an example, board members just can't 2 or 3 board members can't get together without it being officially posted. So we just go over some basic rules. We'll talk a little bit about time commitment. We'll talk about the kind of PD that's available for school board members. We'll talk about the various aspects of the job. We'll talk about committee structures, and then we'll open it up for questions.
And you're not going to get rich, but it's a paid position, right?
It is a paid position, and that is determined every year at the annual meeting. And the school board salaries, and quite frankly, I have to apologize, I don't know what Menominee Falls is, but they're generally 3,000, somewhere in that area. And it's enough to just compensate you for your time. You're also, if you're involved in anything, if you go to conferences or whatever on behalf of the district, all of that is picked up for you, so you don't have any really out-of-pocket expenses.
So if you decide to run, do you have to take out papers? Like if you're running for other office, do you collect signatures? There's a process for that too, right?
There is a process for doing that. You do take out papers. You do have to collect some signatures. I have to go back and double check on all that. I apologize. It's been a while since I've run
no,
an
we don't need
election.
the details, just kind of
But
broad
yes,
overview. Is that
right. What you do is you would contact the district office. You talk to Kim Smith. Kim will help you work through the process. And you get all the paperwork filled out. It's taken out in the beginning. It starts in December, and it needs to be turned in the first week in January.
All right, so if there are a lot of candidates that decide to run, then there's
Yes.
a primary, right?
That is correct. And so the primary election will happen in February. It's the second or third Tuesday in February. And then the top vote getters will then move on to the main primary or the main election in April. And that'll be the first Tuesday in April.
All right, so if you want more information, go to the district website. That's a great resource for a lot of things related to the district. You can start there at the district website. You can always call the district office as well. As Jim said, a great way to get involved in the life of our community. Jim Heiden is the superintendent in the Menominee Falls School District. Jim, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John.